Welcome, everyone. I'm so excited to introduce you to Shelley Bostrom. She's one of those amazing orthodontic consultants. Shelley really does have a deep understanding and a keen eye for those emerging trends in our industry. Shelley helps orthodontic practices really optimize their operation, and she specializes in like strategic planning and technology integration and all about enhancing patient experiences. And in this interview today, we'll explore Shelley's journey and the inspiration behind her practice, Align My Practice, and the importance of local presence marketing. So Shelley will share some really great practical advice on starting local marketing, creating some really great customer profiles, and gaining that competitive edge. So we'll also discuss how to stay updated on local trends and measure successes and avoid really all those common pitfalls. So let's dive in. Hi, Shelley. Thank you so much for joining today. I was so excited about talking with you that I was thinking through some of my questions last night. And I remember 30 years ago, there wasn't any orthodontic consultants that I remember. But I think that the orthodontic industry has went through such an incredible rise in technology and even change of patients' mindsets that it really certainly seems that we need consultants today. And I would love to hear about your story and how you came across producing your company, Align My Practice.
Oh, well, thank you so much for having me, Lorraine. It's great to meet with you again. I know that we met up at AAO recently, but great to see you here again today. And thanks again for having me.
You're welcome.
And yeah, so, thinking back to 30 years ago, I was in this industry over 30 years ago. I'm aging myself now, but I do remember Charlene White. She's kind of the consultant that stands out to me. And I actually still have, I think I have a workbook of hers or something, maybe a floppy disk. I don't know, but I think I have something of hers. It's interesting looking back at my career history and all these little pearls that I've saved along the way. And here we are today, very full circle. But my journey in this industry started very young. When I was in high school, I wanted to be a dental hygienist. I don't know why any 15-year-old has those aspirations, but I did. And so I was always pursuing healthcare and took ROP classes when I was in high school. So I completed my dental assisting program when I was 18. I'm based in Southern California. So I took my state board exam. 18 or 19 was an RDA, instantly started working. And was really kind of doing part-time working in a dental office and part-time I was working at Nordstrom. So I really always had this like business sales, customer service mindset. And so I was managing at Nordstrom. I had sales awards and customer service awards, but still I loved my dentistry and I loved patient care. And so I did that for a few years until my husband, who was my high school sweetheart, we got married and decided to start a family. And so I left those two industries, but I started two businesses. One was actually still in the dental industry. I was back before technology was not really there. I was doing smile imaging for different doctors. So we had, a dentist who was interested in, doing a smile makeover for a patient. And I created those smile makeovers with very old programs. And I am not a super tech savvy girl, but I enjoyed the process. So I did that. And then I started another business with my mom. And then once my kids got older, and I wasn't in the classroom and, library mom and carpool and Girl Scout leader and all those fun things, I got
Running
back.
your family company, right?
Yes, yes. So I then got back into the industry, but more on the front end. So TC, sales, marketing, management. And that was, gosh, probably like 15 years ago.
Mm.
And so that's really where I started dabbling in consulting a little bit. I was working with these private practices, but I had a lot of my whole career has been in Orange County, California. So I had a large network. And then I just started helping out different doctors or team members, and it's makes my heart really happy to, since I had that business background, the clinical background, the sales and marketing background, to be able to help these doctors and managers and team members with whatever pain points they were having within the practice. And then I just 3 years ago really took the leap of faith to get out of my one private practice and do consulting for him, and really just be able to help multiple doctors and teams and practices. And really started with my local network here in Southern California, but I'm very blessed to say that I now have clients all over the country. I have clients in Canada. My husband and I are
Wow.
empty nesters. And so traveling is fun for me. So I love going into the offices, but I do a lot of like virtual coaching as well. So that's my story, a little bit about, me from way back when, and where I am today. And I'm so grateful to be doing, I think I've always been a teacher and a therapist at heart. And I just
Yeah.
love being able to help doctors and, really all the, professionals in this wonderful industry with loving their, having that balanced life, loving what they're doing, wanting to be happy going into the office every day, and really helping them grow their practice from all different angles.
It sounds to me that you were able to tap into what I always call with my team your superpowers. And so
Yes.
you were able to really pinpoint not only what you were really good at, but what you were passionate about. And I can see that it's just oozing from you, right? When you meet somebody who's very passionate about what they do, as they say, you never work a day if you love your job and you love what you do. And I can see that just sitting, looking back at me. So it's exciting to see someone live that passion
Yeah.
and be excited about what they do every day. So good
Yeah.
for you.
Thank you
Well,
so much.
today we're going to talk about local presence marketing.
Yes.
And I sort of reached out to you last night and thought, I have this bug in my head that I don't think that many people have been talking about it, and yet I know it to be really important, and you know it to be really important. So let's really plant the seed inside all of our practices, watching about what it is and why we need to pay attention to it.
Yeah, it's so important. So one of my courses is ground marketing and community engagement,
Mhm,
and it's just that. It is so important. And there are, of course, other aspects of marketing that are equally as important. You need to have a website that's working for you. You need to invest in SEO and Google Ads and have that online presence. Absolutely. Social media is important. Absolutely. That's going to help to humanize your practice, and it's fun for the team. And it's a lot of the, patients in the community are on social media. So you need to make sure that you are utilizing all methods of communication
mhm,
to reach your local community and reach your patients. But that community marketing and networking and really having a presence, it's kind of that like old hometown marketing that I think a lot of people don't really take advantage of. And it's so powerful because you can do your TikToks and your videos and, texting and all of that, but getting face to face, being a part of your community, setting up a booth and a table at your concerts in the park in the summertime, and
mhm,
connecting with I'm like a Girl Scout leader of 10 years. So Girl Scouts are, they're brace age girls. So how can we reach Girl Scouts and having them come in your office to earn
mhm,
a badge or a patch or something like that? I
mhm,
could go on and on. That's what that's really what my course is all about.
mhm,
But it's so important. And you're right. I think a lot of practices are so focused on the global reach,
mhm,
and they're forgetting about, the business or the elementary school down the street and
mhm.
how to really connect with them.
I find that, I mean, certainly having worked with quite a few doctors, is we get very focused on when the door opens, right? I saw you in a podcast the other day, and you were talking about new patients' exams and how to get a start on that very first, moment that you meet the patient. And those are all wonderful. But I think the ultimate goal with sort of local presence marketing and sort of what I love to call it outreach, right, is the ultimate goal in my mind is how do you get somebody to come and put their hands on the door? And
Right,
when they walk through the door, what do you want them to know about you?
right. Yeah, we kind of go through, I'm sure everyone's heard of the sales funnel, the marketing funnel.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
last part of that funnel is them walking through your door, but there's so many other things for them to learn about you in the community and looking at your website and I'm big on Dr. Cialdini's principles of influence. So one of the principles of influence is principle of consensus or social proof. So what's out
Mhm.
there about
Yeah.
you, your practice niche, your team? What do your reviews say? What is your community saying? Did you participate at this, local community event, or maybe a health fair, or a career day at a local elementary school?
Hmm. Hmm.
That face-to-face interaction is important. And one of the my new patient call sheet is a question: have you met Dr. Smith before? Like, you
Interesting.
need to know, have you
Mhm.
met them? Oh yeah, I saw him at the grocery store. I saw him at a baseball game. Oh yes, he came and spoke at my child's school. So it's important for that, referral and intake information to be really, really complete, so that you as a practice know when you're going to be investing in marketing,
Mhm.
what's working for you, what's not working for you, and where are your current patients, how are they finding you, and what's out there about you.
I have always really loved when I was building Retainers for Life, that I had to look really closely at who my number one customer was going to be. Who is going to spend time on my website? Who is going to buy my product? Who is going to make decisions on this product? And I don't think it's any different for an orthodontic practice in understanding who their number one customer is and then building local presence based on that knowledge. So, what are your thoughts on that, Shelley?
Yes, great question. So I always encourage my practices to really know who their like patient avatar is. Like, if you were to pull someone off the street to do a commercial for you, who is that person?
Mhm.
So I would say for the most part, I do think it is that busy mom.
Mhm.
So who is that busy mom? Where does she hang out? She's got multiple children going to, I mean, I was one of those moms. I was that working mom having 3 kids in 3 schools and 3 carpools and 3 after-school activities, running them to all of these appointments. So I think that is common. I do feel that there are a lot of situations where families are a 2-parent working family and everybody's incredibly busy. So
Mhm.
where does that mom go within your local community?
Mhm.
Like I said, when she drops off the kids at school, is there a local coffee shop? Does she go and do a workout at the local Pilates studio?
Mhm.
Is there a Medi spa that she goes to? Where does she get her lashes done? All of those things. And it's a great opportunity for practices to look at cross marketing with other small businesses within your community. For example, in my last office that I was managing, we were in a big 3-story building. We were on the second floor, and just below us was a spa. So we would always market with them, especially like Mother's Day and special times of year, where
Mhm.
we would talk about, clear aligner opportunities or gifting, and then raffles and collecting data and information for one another for maybe facials at the spa and salon. So I definitely feel like through that, marketing sales funnel, there's a lot of ways to get to that avatar, that target patient.
Mhm.
But when that busy mom comes into the office, I do feel like the gears need to shift a little bit, and you really
Mhm.
need to put a lot of focus on the patient. I do feel like the patient has a big say in the decision that's made by mom or by
Mhm.
dad or just by the parents in general.
Mhm.
So really making sure that that patient feels super special, you're making them feel comfortable, excited about treatment, you're asking them questions, then, don't just let them like sit there and play on their phone, really try to engage them. I think that speaks volumes to the parents that
Mhm.
you really, really care about their
Yeah.
child and their child's happiness.
Yes, and absolutely. I mean, especially with the busy moms who are very smart shoppers today, who are perhaps visiting three orthodontists. Now, you pray they come to you and be like, done and dusted. Yes, let's get
Yeah.
started today. I mean, that's your ultimate goal. But if they do leave and they do shop, the idea that the child will say, I like Dr. Lorraine better. She was really nice to me because is again comes back to engaging the patient, right? The child in part of this process. So couldn't agree with you more on that. Now, we do know busy moms are busy. We know they're shoppers. And the question is, if I was interested in shopping a practice, where do you think busy moms go? So I've seen you at the spa. I've maybe even seen you at the school, right? Maybe you're on my folder that I get home. There's a special little ticket in there. So I've seen you places. So now I'm going to probably Google you, right?
Yep.
So now take me on that journey that the patient's going to go on, that's going to center them to pulling the doors of your office open and walking in.
Right. So, yes. So after your, avatar busy mom researches you, typically they are going to go to your website. So
Mhm.
I would say your website is your 24/7 sales rep.
Mhm.
Make sure it navigates easily. Make sure there's a call to action on there so they can easily. So many times I'll go if I'm working with a client and I'll look at their website and like, where I don't even see their address. I don't know where they're located. I have to scroll all the way to the bottom before I find an address.
Right.
So I want a call to action. I want a phone number. I want it, what to expect at your consultation. So just make sure that from a branding perspective, and branding doesn't mean just logos and colors. Branding is about
Mhm.
the emotion that you're trying to evoke from your potential patient. So don't have all the canned images on there. If you can have
Mhm.
a video on there, that's great. If there's a welcome video from your doctor or your team members, something that's engaging, but make sure, if you think about the emotions that you want your patients to feel when they hear about you, they look at your social media, they look at your website, they walk in your office, you want them to feel trust, joy, confidence. So
Mhm.
is that represented on
Mhm.
your website? And
Mhm.
then yes, they call. And then that's a whole different webinar series is making sure that
Don't worry,
the
Shelley. We'll
part
do that one as well.
making sure that when that patient calls the office that it's not the first impression is not when they walk through the door. You
Yes.
have impressions leading up to that phone call. How is that phone call handled?
Mhm.
um, I work with a lot of marketing companies and they work so hard at driving leads into the practice and getting the phone ringing, and often the phones are not being answered, or they're not being answered with the quality to convert that call into a
Right.
scheduled appointment. I
But
could go
this
on and
really this shines such a light on all of the things that the orthodontist, this practice owner needs to be thinking about. And we know our doctors are smart. They go to school, they graduate, they are perfect at moving teeth, but they
yeah,
never learned any of this information, right? And we live and breathe it because we're I certainly do on the corporate side.
right.
But I don't know anything about moving teeth. So the idea of bringing someone like you in that sort of like opens up that tunnel vision of that upper left lateral's not perfect. I gotta do A, B, and C to it, to this other world of how to get that patient in the chair just speaks volumes to the role that our consultants play. Because they don't have to go back and go to business school, right?
Right, right, right. So true. And really just, making sure as doctor owners that you are investing in your team
Mhm.
and empowering them to have professional and personal growth and development. Don't expect them to know how to answer the phone automatically, and really have that kind of sales mindset to convert those phone calls, make it more than just a lead, really, to convert them.
Mhm.
But yeah, so when the patient walks through the door, that's a whole nother webinar also. But yes, rolling out the red carpet and making sure that you are creating an experience for Johnny and mom or dad when they come in. And there's so many marketing opportunities internally
Mhm.
as well to make sure that you're highlighting all the wonderful things for your practice.
And I think when mom also puts her hands on the handles, right? And she should be reasonably pre-qualified. If you think about it, if you've done your local presence marketing well, they know who you are. They know perhaps you give to a local charity. They know what services you offer. Perhaps they've watched you on Facebook because they're probably going to go on Facebook or Instagram or whatever these young moms do these days, right? But they're going to want to have seen you, right? And had an experience with you without actually meeting you. So by the time they're open the door, they are more pre-qualified than back in the olden days where you were the only orthodontist in town and you were just walking through the door meeting the orthodontist for the first time. So highly valuable information can be put in front of the patient and busy mom before she even walks through the door, making the flow from the door opening
Right.
easier,
Right.
right? Because you know she's going to know certain things about you. And if she doesn't, then you can say, oh, you got to check out the doctor. He does such funny videos. They're on
Yeah.
Facebook. Go check that out. So
Yes.
there's so much more control today
Mhm.
if we just know to go at how to do it, right?
Right.
Like what are my options? What
Yeah.
what sort of things should I be thinking about? And if we understand our avatar, then it helps us understand what are our options.
Right.
Where do we sit in the community? Where
Mhm.
will I get noticed? And I think, even just sponsoring local soccer teams,
Yeah.
that sort of thing. So you've come up some really great ideas. What do you think about how to maybe co-brand or work alongside the schools? Like, what are some ideas that you have there?
Yeah. So definitely getting connected with schools is important. I think for orthodontics specifically, it's really targeting the elementary schools.
Mm,
Yes, most of the kiddos end up having braces in junior high, but junior high, they don't do the parents aren't involved. They don't do fun events or anything. So I really feel like getting connected with your local elementary schools is important.
mhm.
So I coach all of my offices to get connected with those PTAs. Like you had mentioned about sponsoring teams and things like that. And I think where a lot of doctors might make mistakes is they just want to sponsor, basically going to send a check here, or I want
Right.
my business card in the homework folder, or, I want to hang up a banner in the Little League baseball field. From my experience, many, many, many years of experience, the
Mhm.
return on investment with those doesn't work. I personally don't feel like it's worth it. I think what does work is that presence. You need to get in front of the families, in front of the community, mingling with the, staff members, the teachers of these schools. And
Mhm.
so really taking your team, doctor needs to come too, and go and find events that the school is putting on.
Mhm.
Normally, elementary schools do an event, well, at least in my area, they'll do an event right before summer. So often it's like April, May, they'll do, a fun fest, school carnival. Those are the events that parents are at, everybody's mingling,
Mhm.
and you can set up a booth. There's definitely a science to how to be successful. You can't just set up a booth and stand there and wait
Yeah.
for someone to walk up and hand them a business card. Like, your goal to when you are at those events is to make connections, network, build relationships, and data capture. So you need
Yeah.
to find a way to connect with that parent, talk with them, give them some literature and information about your practice, but have
Mhm.
some swag or goodies or spin a wheel or something
Mhm.
in exchange for them being interested in a complimentary consultation for your office, maybe a little coupon off of treatment when they're ready, something to entice them,
Yes.
get their information. And then your TC has this insane lead list. But you really have to do those events properly in order to, what your call to action is you
Right.
engage.
Right.
So you have to really see it through.
Mhm. Well, I think that you have really shone a light on, you know, everything that needs to go into converting someone to a yes. And ultimately, what would you say is a metric that you could, I always say that you can hang your hat on that makes sense, that say, okay, so what we're doing is working. Is the
Mhm.
metric the phone ringing? Is the metric getting yeses? Like, I think many times we throw these ideas out and we thought, oh, we've spent, $15,000 doing this, but what was the metric to say that it worked? Did you have any advice on that?
Yeah, so I think that your initial metric, if you were to, let's say you were going to go do one of those events,
Mhm.
is were their parents there? You can't collect children's phone numbers and names without a parent being there. So sometimes I would go to events and there would be no parents. And then, so that was a challenging event. We didn't get a big lead list because we can't, just ask a child for their phone number out in this park
Mhm.
or this school. So I think the metric is one is what does your lead list look like?
Mhm.
Was it successful from that point? And then number two is going to be just converting those leads into consultations. And then of course it's the TC's responsibility to take
Mhm.
those consultations, convert them into yes patients.
Mhm.
So I think a metric would, and then make sure when you are, when a new patient calls the office, your like very first question should be, gosh, well, thank you so much for calling. How did you hear about our office? So
Yes.
I want to know
Yes.
if somebody found you at one of these
Mhm.
community events, you have to ask, you have to document it. I don't want it to say community event. I want it to
Right.
say Arroyo Vista Elementary or
Yes.
this career fair or, you know, concert in the park, whatever it was, so that next year, when you're looking and you're planning
Mhm.
out your marketing calendar and your community events, you have to have some history that you
Mhm.
can look back and go, gosh, that was a great event. We have to do that
Very
again. You need to
interesting.
put it in the calendar right away. Or if it wasn't a good event, don't automatically say, no, I don't want to do that again. Come together. Who was at that event? Was the doctor missing from that event?
Mhm.
Um, did we train our team properly to know
Mhm.
how to get that data capture?
Mhm.
Can we improve? So don't automatically say, I'm not, that was a bad event. I'm not going to do it again.
Right.
Just see if you can learn from it and grow from it and make it better.
That was an excellent answer. And I did have swimming in my head the idea that you continue to listen, what worked and what didn't work, even right down to I didn't feel like I did good at that event, but and then the idea of tracking it so that when you get to the following year and you put your dollars and cents aside for that again, is that you are making more educated decisions. We do that with conventions on the corporate side all the time. Which
Right.
conventions worked, which ones didn't, and how can we do better the next time
Yeah,
we go to a convention? So
that's
that
right.
was such a great answer. I really think this shines a light on paying attention to the local community. And plus, it's great to give back, right? I mean, it feels good. And I think, even charities like Smiles Change Lives, Smile for a Lifetime, Embracing Our Warriors, we've got some really solid charities out there that you can participate in. And, as much as we don't like to talk about what that means to us as a marketing strategy, we don't like to
Yeah,
say it, but it
right.
does. It allows you to post give back, true
Right.
give back on your website. It allows you to post it on your Facebook pages. And many times we got to pay attention to that is something that can work for a practice. And I know that if I'm a busy mom and I'm looking at three orthodontists in town, I see this guy that is just truly caring, giving back. It warms my heart, and I want to do business with somebody that truly feels
Absolutely.
caring,
Yes,
right?
that's part of that branding, about creating emotion and really as a practice owner, what is your mission statement? What are your core values?
Yes,
What do you want your patients to feel when they learn about you? They walk
yes.
in your office, they go to your website, they put that first phone call in, they leave, they get the follow-up phone call, they get their thank you card in the mail, all of those things. That's what branding is all about. So
And I'm
that's
sure what you do is, now that we have planted the seed that local presence marketing is important, I am sure you have a roadmap and how to break this down into steps, let's say,
yep,
right? And you don't
yep.
need to share the roadmap, but they should reach out to you and get the roadmap, right?
Yes,
Of
I
a
would love to
way to
share
be
some of
able,
that.
right, to break it down into like not such a, I don't even know which direction to go first, right? But I will go on the record as saying I'm a strong supporter of all of those three charities that I just mentioned: Embracing Our Warriors, Smile for a Lifetime, Smiles Change Lives. I love these guys with all my heart. I love what they're doing. What they're doing is powerful, and what they're doing is important. So just my little pitch is that here at Retainers for Life, we give free memberships to anyone who is a member of those charities. And so everybody gets a free Retainers for Life membership. I highly recommend getting involved. And then, Shelley, just to finish up. So we do have a new webinar series coming up that I'm going live with probably in the next few weeks. And the
Okay.
webinar series is called Dear Younger Self. So,
Mm.
if being middle-aged, I would have a lot of advice for my younger self. And I was wondering if there was one piece of advice that you would give your 19-year-old self
Oh
before
my.
you
We're going
headed
way
out
back.
on your new career, right? So, any ideas?
Gosh, I'm really excited to, view and listen to that series.
Mhm.
Gosh, that is I would say looking back at my younger self, I've definitely had, career challenges, personal challenges, and sometimes you're in a role with a practice and you think like, what am I doing here? What am I
Mhm.
doing? Maybe you are working with a challenging doctor who's micromanaging.
Mhm.
Maybe you have a team member, maybe a patient yells at you. There's all of those tough moments that can frustrate you and cause you stress and anxiety and make you not feel good. Is to trust the journey in your life. Because
Mhm.
even me, many, many, many years later, I can look back and I'm like, ooh, that's what that purpose was. I learned
Yes.
that
Yes.
at that office. I worked with that doctor. I maybe made some family sacrifices where, like, one example, I was working at this office and my husband had recently got laid off. And this was a really great paying job and I had to do it for my family. We needed the income and it
Yeah.
was challenging. My days were long. I was putting in 15-hour days. I had a commute that I didn't enjoy. I was missing dinners with my kids. But it was a time in my life where I was like, gosh, what am I doing here? And I was at that office for just a couple of years.
Mhm.
But I can look back and there's so many pearls that I learned that help
Mhm.
to create me, build strength in me, help me to really do what I'm doing now because I've been in all those tough
Mhm.
situations. So I
Right.
think really trust the journey, try to find joy in everything. I'm like the glass half full kind of girl. So
Yeah.
rather than getting angry or frustrated, I always try to self-reflect and be like, okay, I'm always growing and changing. I'm always
Right.
learning. Yes, I'm a teacher, I'm a coach, I'm a consultant, and my role and my passion is to help these doctors and these team members. And
Mhm.
but I learned so much from these doctors as well
Right.
because I'm a work in progress myself. So I think just trust the journey, embrace the tough times
Mhm.
because you are having so much growth during those tough
Oh,
times.
that's so well said, Shelley. I just love that. You're so wise.
Oh, you're
You're
so
like,
sweet.
yes, I am.
You're
Well,
sweet.
Shelley, if anybody wants to get a hold of you, and it's now that they've watched us for maybe what, 45 minutes perhaps, and they're thinking, I would really love to get a hold of Shelley. What is the best way to get a hold of you?
Oh, I have many ways. I'm all over the place. So my website is alignmypractice.com. There's contact info there. Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, just Shelley Bostrom with an EY. That's the right way to spell it. But I'm all over the place. You won't have trouble finding me. But I would love to be able to just schedule a discovery call, learn a little bit more about you and what your growth goals are, what your team goals are, and I'd love to see if I can help.
You are the best. Thank you so much, Shelley. So appreciated. And let's do this again. We'll come up with another great topic.
Okay, I would love that. Thank you so much, Lorraine.
Take care.
Bye.